Howard Stringer called me up to New York. He had offered me a job in London or Paris, I can't remember which, about 3 months before, and I had just gone to Miami. And I felt like I was obligated to the Bureau to stay for a while longer, and I told him as much as I want to do it, I want to. Turned out he was very angry that I turned it down. So about 3 months later, he called me up to New York, and I went in and he said, look, I'm sending you to, you got a choice between London and Paris, but I'm sending you to Europe. I want you over there. We need some, we're trying to beef up Europe. And so I went, and I picked London, and it was the greatest experience of my life, even including 60 Minutes. I just had such a great time over there. It started in Vietnam. That was the job I always wanted. I wanted to be a foreign correspondent. And the idea of living in exotic places was very high on my list. And by this time I'd been to Rio and Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires, and been to some of the big places in South America, and had been to London only once before. And I really wanted to do it. It was a great opportunity. It was everything that I wanted to do. It was a goal I set for myself from the very beginning, and it was a goal I felt like once I've done this, I can do anything I want. I can retire and become a college professor. I will have done what I wanted to do. And it was a little bit of everything. It was the fact of, mostly it was the fact of living in Europe and seeing the different cultures and learning history that you didn't learn in the United States. You learn really about the way people looked at the United States outside of our own borders. You learned a lot about World War II, the history of World War II, the history of World War I, in which the United States, in some cases, played a role that was slightly different than you imagined if you had been here. The fact that in World War I, we got into the war very late and lost a fairly small number of troops compared to what the Europeans went through. The numbers of people that were killed in World War I in some of these battles. And in World War II, Stalingrad, 1 million people in one battle. And that the U.S. didn't really, the U.S. had a different role. They were fighting in the Pacific, they were fighting in Italy. They didn't really get to the continent until '44, and they were building machines. They were financing different people. They said they were fighting a war in the Pacific, and it was just completely different, a different way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, and the stories were also interesting. You'd get shot out of a cannon. You'd be sitting at home or sleeping, and mostly sleeping, and boom, the phone would go off, hear the ring, you open it up, and you hear the phone ring, you pick it up, and you knew that you were about to go somewhere. And
what were some of the places?
Exciting.
I guess that was the base, and you were sent all over.
It was really kind of, London was a fabulous experience because you were really covering Europe, the Middle East, as far east as India, the whole, half the world. And sometimes you go out for a month. You'd be in one place and they'd say, okay, you'd be in Libya, and then they'd say, okay, we want you to go to India. You fly through, remember I think I was coming from someplace and went to, on my way to India, and landed in Germany at Munich, yeah, it must have been, that's the big airport, right? And no, Frankfurt. Frankfurt, right. Yeah. We landed in Frankfurt, and a bomb went off in the airport upstairs while we were there. And so you cover that story, and then you go off and go to India. Might come back a month later. It was just incredibly exciting, jolt of adrenaline every day.